ठाकुर की प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की
जय
जय गो प्रेमानंदे all glories to some devotees, all glories to some devotees, always to some Guru God. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Creation, Chapter 4, Appearance of Sri Narada. Today's verses 20 to 27. Verse 20. Rigyaju Sama Arthavakyam Vedascha Sachatvara Udhadrida Dihasa Puranam Cha Panjamo Veda Uchyate. Rigyaju Samathavakya Vedaschattvara Udhadridaha Dihasa Puranam Cha Panjamo Veda Uchyate. Rigyaju Samatha Atharvakya Vedaschattvara Udhadridam Dihasa Puranam Cha Panjamo Veda Uchyate. Sailajamaji.
22 അല്ലേ പറഞ്ഞേ?
20.
20. ഓക്കെ. ഋഗ്യജൂസ. ഹരേ കൃഷ്ണ പ്രഭുജി. ഓം നമോ ഭഗവതേ വാസുദേവായ. ഋഗ്യജൂസാമ അഥർവാഖ്യ വേദാശ്ചത്വാര ഉദ്ധൃത ഇതിഹാസ പുരാണം ച പഞ്ചമോ വേദ ഉച്യതേ. ഹരേ കൃഷ്ണ.
Hare Krishna. Yes. Jai Shri Maji.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी।
Krishna.
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ऋग्यजु सामार्थवाक्या वेदश्चत्वार उद्धृता इतिहास पुराणं च पंचमो वेद उच्यते। हरे कृष्ण।
Right. Merindamaji.
हरे कृष्ण। ऋग्यजु समार्तवाक्य वेदाश्चत्वारा उद्धृते अतः इतिहासा पुराणं च पंचमो वेद उच्यते। हरे कृष्ण।
Hare Krishna. Snigdhamaji.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ऋग्यजु सामर्थवाक्य वेदाश्चत्वार उद्धृता इतिहास पुराणं च पंचमो वेद उच्यते। May I read the synonyms?
Yes.
Rig, Yadu, Sama, Atharva, Akshah. The names of the four Vedas. Vedaha, the Vedas. Chatvaraha, four. Udruta, made into separate parts. Itihasa, historical records. Puranasha, and the Puranas. Punachamaha, the fifth. Vedaha, the original source of knowledge. Uchyate is said to be translation. The four divisions of the original sources of knowledge, the Vedas, were made separately, but the historical facts and authentic stories mentioned in the Puranas are called the fifth Veda. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Verse 21. Tatragave dadara pailaha Samago Jaimini Kavi Vaishambhayanapa evaiko Nishnado Yeshamudam. Tatragveda Paila Samago Jaimini Kavi Vaishambhayana evaiko Nishnado Yeshamudam. Tatragveda Pailam Samago Jaimini Kavi Vaishambhayana evaiko Nishnado Yajushamudam. Sailajamaji.
ഹരേ കൃഷ്ണ പ്രഭുജി. ഓം നമോ ഭഗവതേ വാസുദേവായ. തത്തർവേദധര പൈല സാമഹോ ജൈമിനി കവി വൈശംഭായന ഏവൈകോ നിഷ്ണാദോ യജുഷാമുദ. ഹരേ കൃഷ്ണ.
Jai Shri Maji.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु। नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। तत्र तत्रर्ग्वेदधरः पैल सामगो जैमिनि कवि वैशम्पायन एवैको निष्णातो यजुषामुता। हरे कृष्ण।
Krishna. Right. Snigdhamaji.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। तत्र वेदधरः पैलः सामगो जैमिनिः कविः वैशम्पायन एवोक्तो निष्णोति यदुषामुनः। हरे कृष्ण। यजुषामुनः।
Milindamaji.
हरे कृष्ण जी। तत्र वेदाधरा पैलः सामगो जैमिनिः कविः वैशम्पायन एवैको निष्णातो यजुषामुता। May I read?
Yes.
Tatra, thereupon, Rig Vedadhara, the professor of the Rig Veda, Pelaha, the rishi named Pela, Samagaha, that of the Samaved Veda, Jaiminihi, the rishi named Jaimini, Kavihi, highly qualified, Vaishampayanaha, the rishi named Vaishampayana, Eva, only, Ekaha, alone, Nishnataha, well versed, Yajusham, of the Yajur Veda, Uta, glorified. Translation. After the Vedas were divided into 4 divisions, Pela Rishi became the professor of Rig Veda, Jaimini the professor of the Sam Veda, and Vaishampayana alone became glorified by the Yajur Veda. Purport. By His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ji ki Jai. The different Vedas were entrusted to different learned scholars for development in various ways. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Text 22. Adharva Angira Samasit Samundu Daruno Puni Idihasa Purananam Vidame Romaharshanam. Adharvangira Samasi Sumantu Daruno Muni Idihasa Purananam Vidame Romaharshanam. Adharvangarisam Asi Sumantu Daruno Muni Dihasa Purananam Pidame Romaharshana.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी। अधर्वांगिरसामासे सुमन्दोर्दारुणो मुनि इतिहास पुराणानां पितामे रोमहर्षणा। हरे कृष्ण।
Jai Shri Maji.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। अधर्वांगिरसामासीत् सुमन्दोर्दारुणो मुनि इतिहास पुराणानां पितामहो महर्षणा। हरे कृष्ण।
Milindamaji.
Hare Krishna. Sarvangira Sam Asid Sumanto Daruno Munihi Itihasa Purananam Pitame Romaharshanaha. Hare Krishna.
Right. Siddhamaji.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। अथर्वंगिरा आशित अथर्वंगिरा आशित सुमंतो दारुण मुनि इतिहास पुराणानं पितामहो महर्षणः. May I read?
Yes.
Atharva, the Atharva Veda, Angirasam, into the Rishi Angira, Asit was interested. Sumantu, also known as Sumantu Muni, Darunaha, seriously devoted to the Atharva Veda, Muni, the says, Itihasa Puranam, of the historical records and the Puranas, Pita, father, me, mine, Romaharshana, the Rishi Romaharshana. Translation. The Sumantu Muni Angira, who was very devotedly engaged, was interested with the Atharva Veda, and my father, Romaharshana, was interested with the Puranas and historical records. Purport. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada ki jai. In the Shruti Mantras, also it is stated that Angira Muni, who strictly followed the rigid principles of the Atharva Veda, was the leader of the followers of the Atharva Veda. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Text 23. Ta edarshayo vedam swamsam vyastane negada shishyaihi प्रशिशैशिष्यै वेदास्ते शाकिनो भवन् त एदर्शयो वेदं स्वं स्वं व्यस्यन्निके गदा शिष्ये प्रविशे शिष्ये वेदास्ते शाकिनो भवन् त एदर्शयो वेदं स्वं स्वं व्यस्यन् अनेकदा शिष्यैः प्रविशेश्च शिष्ये वेदास्ते शाकिनो भवन्. Yes, Sajamaji.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। त एद ऋषयो वेदं स्वं स्वं वसन् अनेकदा शिष्यै प्रशिष्यै च शिष्यै वेदास्ते शाकिनो भवन्। हरे कृष्ण।
Yes, Shimadi.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभुजी। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। त एत ऋषयो वेदं स्वं स्वं व्यसन् अनेकधा शिष्यै प्रशिष्यैस्तच्छिष्यैर्वेदास्ते शाखिनो भवन्। हरे कृष्ण।
Hare Krishna. Snigdhamaji.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। तैतऋषय वेदं स्वं स्वं व्यस्तन्ननेकधा शिष्यै प्रशिष्यताशेषे वेदास्ते शाखिनो अभवत्। हरे कृष्ण।
Nalindamaji.
हरे कृष्ण। त एता ऋषयो वेदं स्वं स्वं व्यास्यन् अनेकदा शिष्ये प्रशिष्यैस्तच्छिष्यैर् वेदास्ते सखिनो अभवन्। May I read, Prabhuji?
Right.
They, ete, all these Rishaya, learned scholars, Veda, the respective Vedas, swam, in their own entrusted matters, Vyasyan, rendered, Anekata, many, Shishyehe, disciples, Prashishyehe, grand disciples, Tat Shishyehe, great grand disciples, Veda, they, followers of the respective Vedas, Sakinaha, different branches, Abhavan, thus became. Translation: all these learned scholars, in their turn, rendered their entrusted Vedas unto their many disciples, grand disciples, and great grand disciples, and thus the respective branches of the followers of the Vedas came into being. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ji ki Jai. The original source of knowledge is the Vedas. There are no branches of knowledge, either mundane or transcendental, which do not belong to the original text of the Vedas. They have simply been developed into different branches. They were originally rendered by great, respectable, and learned professors. In other words, the Vedic knowledge, broken into different branches by different disciplic successions, has been distributed all over the world. No one, therefore, can claim independent knowledge beyond the Vedas. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. 24. Ta eva vedam durmedhir paurusharthaya paurusher yatha evam chagara bhagavan vyasa kripanavalsala. Ta eva veda durmedhir धार्यन्ते पुरुषै यथा एवं चकार भगवान् व्यासा कृपणवत्सला त एव वेदा दुर्मेधैर् धार्यन्ते पुरुषै यथा एवं चकार भगवान् व्यासा कृपणवत्सला. सजमाजी.
हरे कृष्ण। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। त एव वेद दुर्मेधै धार्यन्ते पुरुषैर्यथा एवं चकार भगवान् व्यासा कृपणवत्सला। हरे कृष्ण।
यशमाजी.
हरे कृष्ण। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। त एव वेदा दुर्मेधे धार्यन्ते पुरुषैर्यथा एवं चकार भगवान् व्यासः कृपणवत्सला। हरे कृष्ण।
मिलिंदबाजी.
Hare Krishna. Ta eva veda durmedher dharyante purusheryatha evam chakra bhagavan vyasaha kripna vatsalaha. Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्ण. सिद्धमाजी.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। त एव वेदा दुर्मध्ये धार्यन्ते पुरुषे यथा एवं चकार भगवान् व्यास कृपाण वत्सलः। May I read the synonyms?
Yes, yes.
त that eva certainly Vedaha, the book of knowledge, Durmaithe, by the less intellectual, Dharyante can assimilate Purushehi by the man, Yatha, as much as Evam, thus Chakara edited Bhagavan the powerful, Vyasaha, the great says Vyasa, Kripana Vatsalaha, by kind to the ignorant mass. Translation. Thus, the great says Vyasadeva, who is kind, very kind to the ignorant masses, edited the Vedas so they might be assimilated by less intellectual men. Purport. His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. The Veda is one, and the reasons for its divisions in many parts are explained herewith. The seed of all knowledge, or the Veda, is not a subject matter which can easily be understood by any ordinary man. There is a stricture that no one should try to learn the Vedas, which is not a qualified Brahmana. This stricture has been wrongly interpreted in so many ways. A class of men who claims Brahmanical qualification simply by their birthright in the family of a Brahman claim that the study of the Vedas is a monopoly of the Brahmana caste only. Another session of the people take this as an injustice to members of other castes who do not happen to take birth in a Brahmana family. But both of them are misguided. The Vedas are subjects which has to be explained even to Brahmaji by the Supreme Lord. Therefore, the subject matter is understood by persons with exceptional qualities of goodness. Persons who are in the mode of passion and ignorance are unable to understand the subject matter of the Vedas. The ultimate goal of Vedic knowledge is Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead. This personality is very rarely understood by those who are in the modes of passion and ignorance. In the Satya Yuga, everyone has situated in the modes of goodness. Gradually, the mode of goodness declined during the Treta and Dwapara Yugas, and the general mass of people become corrupt. In the present age, the mode of goodness is almost nil, and so for the general mass of people, the kind-hearted, powerful sage Srila Vyasadeva divided the Vedas in various ways so that they may be practically followed by less intelligent persons in the mode of passion and ignorance. It is explained in the next sloka as follows.
25. Shri Sudra Dvijabandhunam Traina Shruti Gocharam Karma Shreyasi Mudhanam Shreya Evam Bhade Bhavediha Iti Bharatamakyanam Kripaya Munina Kritam Shri Shudra Dvijabandhunam Traina Shruti Gocharam Karma Shreyasi Mudhanam Shreya Evam Bhavediha Iti Bharatamakyanam Kripaya Munina Kritam Stri Shudra Dvijabandhunam Traina Shruti Gochara Karma Shreyasi Mudhanam Shreya Evam Bhavediha Iti Bharatamakyanam Kripaya Munina Kritam. Sarjamaji.
Hare Krishna. Stri Shudra Bindunam Triyena Shudi Gojara Karma Shreyasi Muthanam Shreya Eva Bhavediha Iti Bharata Makyanam Kripaya Munina Kritam.
Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Maji.
ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय स्त्रीशूद्र द्विजबन्धूनां त्रयीण श्रुतिगोचरा कर्मश्रेयसि मूढानां श्रेय एवं भवेदिह इति भारतमाख्यानं कृपया मुनिना कृतं हरे कृष्ण
Snigdamaji. Snigdamaji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Sri Sudra Dijabandhunam Traina Shruti Gochara Karma Shreyasi Mudhanam Shreya Evang Bhavediha Iti Bharatam Aksharam Krupaya Munina Kritam. Hare Krishna.
Yes, Virendra
Hare Krishna. Sri Sudra Dvija Bandhunam Traina Shruti Gochara Karma Shreyashi Mudhanam Shreya Evam Bhavet Iha Iti Bharatam Akhyanam Kripaya Munina Kritam. May I read?
Yes.
Okay. Sri, the woman class. Shudra, the laboring class. Dvija Bandhanam, of the friends of the twice born. Trai, three. Na, not. Shruti Gochara, for understanding. Karma, in activities. Shreyasi, in welfare. Mudhanam, of the fools. Shreya, in benefit. Eva, thus. Bhavet, achieved. Iha, by this. Iti, thus thinking. Bharatam, the great Mahabharata. Akhyanam, historical facts. Kripaya, out of great mercy. Munina, by the Muni. Kritam, is completed. Translation. Out of compassion, the great sage thought it wise that this would enable men to achieve the ultimate goal of life. Thus, he compiled the great historical narration called the Mahabharata for women, laborers, and friends of the twice born. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ji ki Jai. The friends of the twice born families are those who are born in the families of Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, and Vaishyas, or the spiritually cultured families, but who themselves are not equal to their forefathers. Such descendants are not recognized as such for want of purificatory achievements. The purificatory achievements begin even before the birth of a child, and the seed giving reformatory process is called Garbhadana Samskara. One who has not undergone such Garbhadana Samskara or spiritual family planning is not accepted as being of an actual twice born family. The Garbhadana Samskara is followed by other purificatory processes, out of which the sacred thread ceremony is one. This is performed at the time of spiritual initiation. After the particular samskara, one is rightly called twice born. One birth is calculated during the seed giving samskara, and the second birth is calculated at the time of spiritual initiation. One who has been able to undergo such important samskaras can be called a bona fide twice born. If the father and the mother do not undertake the process of spiritual family planning and simply beget children out of passion only, their children are called Dvijabandhus. These Dvijabandhus are certainly not as intelligent as the children of the regular twice born families. The Dvijabandhus are classified with the Shudras and the woman class, who are by nature less intelligent. The Shudras and the woman class do not have to undergo any samskaras save and accept the ceremony of marriage. The less intelligent class of men, namely women, Shudras, and unqualified sons of the higher castes, are devoid of necessary qualifications to understand the purpose of the transcendental Vedas. For them, the Mahabharata was prepared. The purpose of the Mahabharata is to administer the purpose of the Vedas, and therefore, within this Mahabharata, the summary Veda of Bhagavad Gita is placed. The less intelligent are more interested in stories than in philosophy, and therefore the philosophy of the Vedas in the form of Bhagavad Gita is spoken by the Lord Sri Krishna. Vyasadeva and Lord Krishna are both on the transcendental plane, and therefore they collaborated in doing good to the fallen souls of the sage. The Bhagavad Gita is the essence of all Vedic knowledge. It is the first book of spiritual values, as the Upanishads are. The Vedanta philosophy is the subject matter for study by the spiritual graduates. Only the postgraduate spiritual student can enter into the spiritual or devotional service of the Lord. It is a great science, and the great professor is the Lord Himself in the form of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And persons who are empowered by him can initiate others in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Hare.
Om Jnanativedantasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilidam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stavidam Yena Bhutale Swayam Bhuvada Mahyam Dadadi Swapadam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Udavadavagam Shri Guru Vaishnavamsa Shri Rupam Jadam Sarvana Raghunathan Vidam Tam Sajivam Sadvaidam Savdudam Parijana Saidam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishagan Vidamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagalpade Govesha Goviga Kanda Radha Kanda Namastude Taptaganjana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhan Sude Devi Pranamami Hari Priye वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमो ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनि नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्ण कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम हरे हरे ऋग्यजु समार्थ नर्ववाक्य वेदाश्चत्वार धृदाः इतिहास पुराणं च पंचमो वेद उच्यते. The four divisions of the original source of knowledge, the Vedas, were made separately, but the historical facts and authentic stories mentioned in the Puranas are called the fifth Veda. Veda Vyasa, the greatest philanthropist, can say, who are always concerned with the welfare of the fallen souls. So Vedas are said to be more merciful than millions of mothers. That's what Baladev Vidyabhushan is a commentary on verse 2.45. Trailoki Vishaya Veda, Traigunya Vishaya Veda, Nishthaigunya Bhavarjuna. In that verse, he mentions that Vedas are more merciful than millions of mothers. Because the total concern of Veda Vyas was Yena Kena Pragarena, somehow or other, drag these fallen souls who are the mare of material, what do you call it, ditch, and somehow take them back to God, back to God. And for that, was fully equipped with knowledge. But he could see that deterioration is going to take place, and it's going to take place very fast because of the influence of Kali Yuga. And due to lack of goodness, mode of passion and ignorance increasing, he saw very bleak situation. And then he wanted to contemplate on the welfare of all the persons, how I can uplift them. And then he saw that the Vedas actually are meant for, is a means for people's occupation, which could be purified by Vedas. And Vedas in the beginning was one big mass, one book, one big mass, to facilitate an easy reading, so that people in Kali Yuga especially who is very, very tiny brained, doesn't have any intelligence, always in a fighting and troublesome mode, they'll be unable to grasp if the Vedas are presented as it is in a big block. So the merciful Muni, he divided the Vedas into 4, namely Rig, Yajur, Sama, Atharva. Srila Prabhupada mentions that actually Yajurveda was original, and then God did it into 4. And historical facts and authentic stories mentioned Puranas are also called the 5th Veda. So Puranas and Idihasas, they are also considered as 5th Veda. Why so? It will be later explained. Then after dividing these Vedas into 4, he entrusted each of the branch to very advanced and very scholarly Munis. Namely, he divided into 4, and Paila Rishi became the professor of Rig Veda. Jaimini became professor of Samaveda. Jaimini, as you remember, is one of the 6 gurus, 6 acharyas, contemporaries of Veda Vyas. And he's a logician. So Gautama is logician. Jaimini is also mentioned as one of the 6 scholars who are interested with different darshanas. So Jaimini became professor of Samaveda, and Vaishampayana also alone became qualified by Yajurveda. So, yes, Sairamaji, any questions? Anything you want to ask?
Yajurveda and Samaveda, no? What about Atharvaveda?
That is being mentioned now. Next verse.
Okay.
Atharva Angira Samasi Sumantu Daruno Muni Idihasa Purananam Pidame Romaharshana. So the 4th Veda is called Atharva Veda. And Atharva Veda was entrusted to Angira Muni, was also known as Sumantu.
Suma?
Actually, there's a little controversy on this. The Atharva Veda is not considered to be purely in the category of other Vedas. And some people, especially Kumaras, they objected it to being accepted as Vedas. They didn't like Atharva Veda, especially the scholar persons, Angirasa. But he was favored by Paramashiva. And so there was a debate between Kumaras and Shiva. And finally, Shiva prevailed over them. And so Angirasa's Atharva Veda was accepted as one of the Vedas. Why it was initially resisted? Because it is having some incantations and some magic. Turmandra, something like that. Black magic and all. It's in that Atharva Veda. And so it is not purely in the same category as other Vedas. But the purpose is also understood. The utility of these Vedas or the other Vedas was also understood by the great personality like Shiva. And so he protected Angirasa. It is also said that Atharva Veda is a source of non-semantic books like Quran. It's taken mainly from for the philosophy of Atharva Veda, described in Atharva Veda. So this is Vishwan Chakravarti says Daruna means incantations and magic. You have seen the word here. Atharva Angira Samasi Sumanto Daruno Muni. Srila Prabhupada is given as a seriously devoted, but Vishwan Chakravarti says it is incantations and magic. So after dividing the Vedas, among these scholars, namely Paili Rishi, Jaimini, Vaishampayana, and Sumanta or Angirasa, they developed the Vedas, each branch of Vedas, how the Eda Rishyo Vedam Swam Yasen Negada Shishye Pavishye Chachache Vedaste Shakino Bhavan. All these learned scholars in their turn rendered their entrusted Vedas unto their many disciples, grand disciples, great grand disciples, and thus respective branches of the followers of Vedas became into being. So each Vedas was expanded by the scholars who came after. Like Jaimini had his own branch, Paila has had his own branch, Vaishampayana as well as Angirasa. So their disciples and their grand disciples and great grand disciples, everyone worked on each Vedas, expanded it, and the Vedas started multiplying. Ultimately said that there are more than 2,000 branches of knowledge inside the Vedas. So this you can see, it is coming in disciplic succession only. Disciplic succession are rishis, not father son. So having done this, why the purpose was again mentioned here. The eva veda durmete dharyande purushe yatha evam chakara bhagavan vyasa kripana valsala. Thus the great Vyasadeva, who is very kind to the ignorant masses, edited the Vedas so that they might be assimilated by less intellectual men. So intellectual men are known as how? Who are the intellectual Varna?
Brahman.
Yes, Brahmins. Brahmins are supposed to be intelligent class. So basically, Vedas is very difficult to apprehend. Only very intelligent persons who are having real Brahminical qualities can assimilate the real meaning of the Vedas. Because the subject matter is very subtle and it needs a lot of intelligence to grasp it. And as the yugas deteriorate, the values in yugas deteriorate, there are practically no men who are able to be said very well versed in Vedas, especially in this Kali Yuga. So this stricture that Vedas could be understood only by Brahmanas has been misinterpreted. Those who are born in Brahmana family, they claim that only Brahmanas by birth are only qualified to propagate Vedas. Nobody else should read or learn or try to understand Vedas. But this was very much protested by another class of people who said, this is not acceptable, as it restricted Veda study into a particular section only, based on religion or caste or by birth. This is a protested vehemently. And Srila Prabhupada says both are wrong. Because the essential qualification of understanding Vedas is that one should be situated in pure goodness, Shuddha Sattva. Thus, Brahma himself was taught by Krishna only, Okaranadosha Vishnu, Garbhodosha Vishnu only. Because Brahma was the only qualified person to understand Vedas. So the real qualification is that one should be in the disciplic succession of Brahma. And we are very fortunate that we belong to that parampara, Brahma parampara, which later became Madhva Brahma parampara, and then which again later became what? What became what?
Gaudiya Vaishnavas.
Which Vaishnava? Gaudiya Vaishnavas.
Gaudiya Vaishnavas.
Gaudiya Vaishnavas. So it's called Gauda Madhva Gauda Brahma parampara. And what is the criterion? That one should be situated in pure goodness, Sattva. People in the mode of passion and ignorance cannot understand Vedas. People who think that birthright is all important, as well as who object vehemently, are either in the mode of passion or in the mode of ignorance. So these people cannot understand Vedas, especially the compiler of Vedas, who is Krishna himself. Vedeshu sarve ahameva ved. So if you cannot understand Krishna and the Vedas, there is no point in fighting. One may people say that only by Brahman by birth only can is qualified to teach or learn Vedas. By other hand, people in the other in the mode of again passion and ignorance, they say that this is very unfair. Everyone has an equal right. So nobody actually has an equal right. Nobody has an equal right to learn Vedas. Only person situated in Parampara who is in the mode of Satyaguna only have the right to learn Vedas. So neither people who are born as a Brahmana, nor people in general have no right to learn Vedas. Because this is a very subtle man. So these values in the beginning of Satyayuga, mode of goodness was very prominent. Then it deteriorated in Treta Yuga and Dwapara Yuga and Kali Yuga. Only very little goodness was left. So Vedavyasa knew that simply by teaching Veda only, nobody can advance properly. So what he did, who is a less intelligent people? He has started who is a less intelligent people is mentioned in the next verse. Sri Shudra Dvijas Bandhu Nam Trayina Shudi Gochara. Sri Shudra Dvija Bandhu Nam Trayina Shudi Gochara. Of these three types are not qualified to listen to Vedas. Karma Sheyasi Mudhanam Shreya Eva Bhavediha Iri Bharatamakhyanam Kribaya Munina Kritam. So, for those benefit of these three types, they are supposed to be Mudhana means foolish, who are engaged in fruitive activities. Hence, Karma Shreyasi, who think that fruitive activities is all in all. Such people are considered, accepted as foolish only. So, for benefit of these people, the merciful Vedavyasa compiled Mahabharata. Visvam Vihasas. So Dijabandhanam is persons who are born in the upper three classes. Upper three classes like Brahmana, Kshatriya, and Vaishya. Born in the upper three classes, but doesn't have the qualities of their forefathers. So they are called Dijabandhu. So they are supposed to be inferior people, spiritually inferior people, intellectually inferior. Though they are born to family, but they are not qualified. That's why we always mention that being just born to Brahmana family doesn't make any right, doesn't give anybody a right to be accepted as a Brahmana. No. So then, of course, you have the Sris and Vaishyas, Shudras, and the women. Not Vaishyas, sorry, Shudras and the women, along with the Dijabandhus. So the question may be asked, why even person being born a Brahmana, why he was born a Brahmana? Because he had done some good activities in his previous life. So he was awarded with the birth in a Brahmana family. But then why he did not reach this, achieve these qualities is because it's mentioned here that samskaras, mentioned made of samskaras. There are 16 samskaras starting Vivaha. Vivaha is the first. Then after Vivaha, which is actually complex affair, choosing the right partner, etc., is detailed in his the samskara book. Next one is Garbhadhana. After a man and woman gets into wedlock, the intention should be to produce Krishna conscious child. For this, Garbhadhana is accepted as one of the real means of conception. Which means that when a man and woman gets married, they should visit holy dhams like Vrindavana, stay there for a few days or few weeks, go all over Vrindavan, especially listen to Bhagavatam classes rendered by Acharyas there. And then the process is involved to beget a child. So this is called Garbhadhana, which means the time of conceiving, both the consciousness of father and mother will be in a pure state. If that is so, a blessed soul will enter that their family and be really qualified as Brahman. But when you don't follow the samskaras, Garbhadhana, when you get into this marriage activity, the process of procreation, in a mode of passion, the Brahmana qualities will not be injected, or a good soul will not enter. Instead, that a passionate soul will enter. And that's why, although he's born to Brahmana family, since he's in the mode of passion and ignorance, he is not accepted, he is not to be accepted as a Brahmana. I hope you're following.
Yes.
Are we following?
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
Prabhuji.
Linda?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, exam was of course. But because this is important. And of course, the 16 after Garbhadhana comes Savana, Simantonayana, Shoshandi, Jadakarma. You can download it from net if you want.
Namakarana,
Nishkarmana, Namakarna, Mundana,
Vidyarambha,
Annaprashna, Karnaveda, Chudakarna, and then comes very important one, Vidyarambha. Vidyarambha, the Upanayana. Upanayana is accepted as Diksha ceremony. So Dvija means a person who is born twice. One at the time of Garbhadana, that seed giving ceremony. It's called Garbhadana, means seed giving ceremony. And that it becomes the first time he's born. And next, during the time of Upanayana, is called giving the spiritual holy thread, sacred thread, Upanayana, which means he is being given our initiation, spiritual initiation by a spiritual master, Diksha. So a person who has taken Diksha is supposed to be born twice. That is a spiritual birth. So at the Garbhadana time, he gets a seed giving birth, comes out of the womb of a woman. And then when he takes initiation, he becomes a qualified Dvija.
Prabhuji, one question. Is this also
Yes.
applicable to girl child?
Here it is said that the girls have only one samskara, which is Vivaha.
Okay.
But a girl who is the wife who is following very strictly a husband who is very religious in the sense that she is following this and serves him faithfully, she'll be awarded with 50% of the spiritual assets which the husband accrue during these activities. So there is in Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a incident or pastime of Kardama Muni and Devahuti. Devahuti served Kardama Muni very, very attentively, following very hardships, but very faithfully served her husband, and because of that, she was awarded with this. But now in ISKCON, of course, this is followed. That's especially Disha is given to Matajis also, very much so. Even Brahmana Disha is also given, but not sannyasa.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, Prabhuji.
So here it says Dvija Bandhus are certainly not as intelligent as the children of regular twice-born families. So regular twice-born families means who is following the samskaras very clearly. And so Dvija Bandhus are classified with Shudras and women class, or by nature less intelligent. Here it is mentioned Shudras and women class do not have to undergo any samskara save and except the ceremony of marriage. Of course, other things that is following Simantayana and all those that is applicable to ladies only. But basically, basic thing is two things are Vivaha, that is Garbhadhana, and Upanayana. So Upanayana, Matajis at that time were not awarded with Upanayana. That's why you don't find the sacred thread, women wearing a sacred thread. But here in ISKCON, women people, the Matajis are given Brahmanika Desha. Srila Prabhupada, the first person, Acharya, who allowed Matajis to do the deity worship. Deity worship can be done only by Brahmana, who has completed Upanayana. In India, you will not find Matajis, even ISKCON temples also, sometimes only, very rarely you will find Matajis doing this deity worship. But in Western countries, you can still find Matajis doing the Western deity worship. So for that, Srila Prabhupada attracted a lot of criticism from his god brothers and other the so-called spiritual people who said that Matajis should not be loved at deity worship because they are not supposed to have the Brahmanical Diksha. But Srila Prabhupada, very maturely, with great vision and wisdom, he said that yes, women Mataji should be given the initiation and should also be given Brahmanical initiation also. So, for the benefit of these less intelligent people who are more interested in stories and activities, market news, etc., he compiled Mahabharata, the Dihasa, which is full of these activities or pastimes, which is very keenly followed by people in the mode of passion and ignorance. But inside the Mahabharata, he put Bhagavad Gita also. So Bhagavad Gita is a transcendental science, is kept inside this Mahabharata, which is a material. Because without Bhagavad Gita, Mahabharata is simply a narration of fruitive activities. But when there is Bhagavad Gita, I say, with the intention of attracting people who are in this mode, Bhagavad Gita was incorporated or vetted inside this Mahabharata. So Bhagavad Gita is accepted as essence of all Vedic knowledge. It is the first book of spiritual values, as Upanishad saw. And Vedanta philosophy is the subject matter of highly advanced persons. And the natural commentary of Vedanta Sutra, compiled by Vedavyasa himself, is Srimad Bhagavatam, which is compiled by Vedavyas. Now, the background for the Srimad Bhagavata is now well laid. In these later verses, we'll find the background for which why Vedavyasa will be advised later by sage Narada to write Srimad Bhagavatam. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. So Bhagavad Gita is a basics, is a elementary knowledge, elementary book on spiritual knowledge. Srimad Bhagavatam is for postgraduates, and Chaitanya Charitamrita is for PhDs. That is our Gaudiya Vaishnava order. So step by step you should learn. Hare Krishna. Any questions? Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Nanda Guru Vaishnava